Hi guys, we're back with another book today.
We are, and we haven't been here for a few days because we were out of town, but we're back with a book called Chicken Sunday by Patricia Palazzo. I think that's how you pronounce a double C. I can't remember. Anyway, let's see what this book is about. One moment. We're having technical cameraman difficulties over here. Okay. Let's just... Sorry. Anyway, let's do this. Chicken Sunday. Chicken Sunday. Stuart and Winston were my neighbors. They were my brothers by a solemn ceremony we had performed in their backyard one summer. They weren't the same religion as I was. They were Baptists. Their grandma, Eula May Walker, was my grandma now. My babushka had died 2 summers before. Sometimes my mother let me go to church on Sunday with them. How we loved to hear Miss Eula sing. She had a voice like slow thunder and sweet rain. We'd walk to church and back. She'd take my hand as we crossed College Avenue. Even though we've been churching it up like decent folks ought to, she'd say, I don't want you to step in front of one of those too fast cars. You'll be flat as a hen's tongue. She squeezed my tongue. What am I saying? She squeezed my hand. When we passed Mr. Kandinsky's hat shop, Miss Eula would always stop in and look at the window at the wonderful hats. Then she'd sigh and we would walk on. Sorry. We called those Sundays Chicken Sundays because Miss Eula almost always fried chicken for dinner. There'd be collard greens with bacon, a big pot of Hoppin' John, corn on the cob, and fried spoon bread. One Sunday at the table, we watched her paper fan flutter back and forth, pulling moist chicken fried air along with it. She took a deep breath. Her skin glowed as she smiled. And then she told us something we already knew. That Easter bonnet in Mr. Kandinsky's window is the most beautiful I ever did see, she said thoughtfully. The 3 of us exchanged looks. We wanted to get her that hat more than anything in the world. Stuart reached into the hole in the trunk of our wish tree in the backyard. He pulled out a rusty Band-Aid tin. The 3 of us held our breath as we counted the money inside that we'd been saving for weeks. If we're going to get that hat for Miss Eula in time for Easter, we are going to need a lot more than this, I announced. Maybe we should ask Mr. Kandinsky if we could sweep up his shop or something to earn the rest of the money, Stuart said. I don't know, Winnie said fearfully. He's such a strange old man. He never smiles at anyone. He always looks so mean. We all agreed that it was worth a try anyway. The next day, we took a shortcut down the alley in the back of the hat shop. Bigger boys were there. They were yelling. Eggs flew past us and pelted Mr. Kandinsky's back door. Just as the boys ran away, the door flew open. Mr. Kandinsky glared straight at us. You there, he yelled. Why do you kids do things like this? It wasn't us, Stuart tried to say, but Mr. Kandinsky wouldn't listen to us. All I want to do is live my life in peace. I'm calling your grandmother, he shouted, as he wagged his finger in Stuart's face. Miss Eula was waiting in her living room for us. Miss Eula, we didn't throw the eggs, I sobbed. Some big boys did, Stuart sputtered. What were you doing in the back of his shop in the first place? She asked. We knew that we couldn't tell her the truth, so we just stood there and cried. She looked at us for a long while. Baby dears, I want to believe you. Heaven knows that I brought you children up to always tell the truth. If you say you didn't do it, then I believe you. It's too bad, though, she went on to say. That poor man has suffered so much in his life. He deserves more than eggs thrown at him. You know, he thinks you threw the eggs. You'll have to show him that you are good people. You'll have to change his mind somehow. It's not really food, is it? In my kitchen the next day, we thought and thought, how can we win him over when he thinks that we threw those eggs, Stuart asked. He doesn't even like us, Winston chirped. Eggs, I said quietly. Eggs? Stuart asked. Eggs, I screamed. I went to the kitchen drawer and took out a lump of beeswax, a candle, a small funnel with wooden handles, and some packets of yellow, red, and black dye. Mom helped me show the boys how to decorate eggs the way my bubby had taught us. The way they do it in the old country. We made designs on the egg shells with hot wax, then dyed them and finally melted the wax patterns off. We put the eggs in a basket, and even though we were afraid, marched into Mr. Kudinsky's shop and put them on the counter. He raised his eyebrows and glowered at us. Then his eyes dropped to the basket. Spasiba, he said softly. That meant thank you in Russian. Thanky eggs, he said as he looked closely. I haven't seen these since I left my homeland. We didn't throw those eggs at your door, Mr. Kudinsky, we told him. He looked at us for a minute. Well then, you have great courage to be here. Chutzpah, you have chutzpah. Then his eyes glistened, his mouth curled into a warm smile. Come, have some tea with me. We spent the whole afternoon talking together, having poppy seed cake and strong tea. He told us about his life, and we told him about ours, and we finally got the courage to ask about doing odd jobs to earn some extra money, and he apologized and told us that there was no work. We didn't tell him what we wanted the money for. It didn't seem the right thing to do. Our hearts sank. I'll tell you this, he said thoughtfully. These eggs are as beautiful as my hats. Stuart, Winnie, and I looked at each other. It's almost Easter, he went on to say. I'm sure that people would love these eggs. Set up a table and sell them right here in my shop. For the next few days, we worked very hard. We made almost a dozen Psanky eggs. When people came in, they picked them up and said things like beautiful, splendid, intricate, glorious. We sold them all in one single day. For sale, real Ukrainian eggs. That afternoon, when all the eggs were gone, we counted our money. We had more than enough for the hat. Just as we were about to tell Mr. Kudinsky that we wanted to buy the hat, he came out from the back room holding a beautiful hat box, gift-wrapped. Keep your money, children, he said softly. I have seen Miss Eula admire this. It is for her, isn't it? Tell her I know you are very good children, such good children. When Easter Sunday arrived, we thought our hearts would burst when we watched Miss Eula open the hat box. She held us close, as big tears rolled down her cheeks. Later that day, as Miss Eula sat down at the head of the table, she said, "Oh, baby dears, I can die happy now. And after I'm dead on Chicken Sunday, I want you to boil up some chicken bones, gravy, and all, and pour it over my grave. So late at night when I'm hungry, I can reach right out and have me some." Then she rolled her head back and laughed from a deep, holy place inside. Winston, Stewart, and I are grown up now. Our old neighborhood has changed some, yet it's still familiar too. The freeway rumbles over the spot where Mr. Kudinsky's shop once stood, and I think of him often and his glorious hats. We lost Miss Eula some time back, but every year we take some chicken soup up to Mountain View Cemetery and do just as she asked. Sometimes, when we are especially quiet inside, we can hear singing, a voice that sounds like slow thunder and sweet rain. The end. This was kind of sad, but it's a sweet book. Again, it's called Chicken Sunday, and we hope everybody has a great night.
Like and subscribe.
Good night.